Howdy, everybody. And welcome back to the next episode of Ironsworn, episode 9, I think. It's starting to get on. I want to start this one off with a little bit more of a bang this time. We've been, for a couple of reasons. One, been off for a couple of weeks. Let me do my, Mr. Rogers change from my cowboy hat to my headphones. So we've been off for a couple of weeks because of unfortunate car-related stuff that I've been doing. But also last session, there was just, I don't know, looking back on it, it went to some interesting places towards the end, but there was a lot of just kind of meh that I wasn't as into. So I want to buck against that by going right into it this time. Before we do, though, I've put some thought into some of the questions that we had from last time. If you were here before, and even if you weren't, you can. This still might interest you. We had some questions about exploring a little bit more of the religion of the land. It's come up a little bit where there's. We've had just the idea that there's some religion that people follow, and some people are more religious than others. But really, that's about as far as anything went. We didn't know anything more about this religion. Last time, we wound up determining a little bit more about how this was kind of at odds with being an Ironsworn. Not explicitly like you couldn't be both, but they didn't really go 100% in the same direction, and it was atypical to be of this religion that's local to the area and an Ironsworn. So I had these questions that were in my notes, like, first of all, what is the name of this religion? And then just implicitly, what's a little bit more like, what is their belief system? What is this thing? And I've had a chance to think about it a little bit. Admittedly, a little bit is very apropos. I've thought about it in the, minutes that I've been setting up this session to get started tonight. But I do have some answers that I want to run with. So I decided that this religion is going to be called Signism. It's based off of the idea of signs. And I think the reason why it's at odds with being an Ironsworn is that Ironsworn are all about just kind of they choose their destiny and they make it happen. They say, I need reality to look like this, and I'm going to make it so. Signism believes a little bit more like predestination sort of stuff, that there is a way things are supposed to go. And to be close to what they know as the pattern. To be close to the pattern is to study the pattern and be aware and, foretell the future and then go as close to that as possible. Things that go against it are problematic. And so to a really religious person of Signism, like a Signist, I guess is what you would call them, Ironsworn are reckless. They just do what they want and they don't consult the pattern. It's not necessarily heretical, but it's reckless. So anyway, these are some of the thoughts I've had about it. I'm sure we'll be exploring it a little bit more. And then the leader's name, because she came up last time, the leader's name is Latia, or the Latya. It's just an honorific that means, seer in an old language. So it's a name that she has taken on once she became the leader of this religion. Anyway, I talked about jumping right into it, and we're going to do that this time. Because you may remember, last time we kind of left off on Coyote Devereaux had just stolen this holy text. He'd kind of done a little bit of talking with the character that we now know to be Latya. Got her to get out this book from a library, but she was very wary of him the whole time. Something in the back of her mind was saying, there's something shady about this character. And of course we know she was very much right. And when it came down to it, she saw through his bullshit about his claims that he was already totally a member of the religion, and thus he did not have to go through the ceremonies or anything like that. He could just, it's fine, you can just give me the book now. And she was like, I think you're a liar, and I'm never going to give you this book. And he's like, cool, I'm going to steal this book and run out of the room. He was successful at doing that, and that's kind of where we left off. Now, I want to begin this one kind of with a chase, because I think that there are other people in this cathedral-like environment. She's not the only one there. She's got, I think we're going to call them her weavers. They're like subordinates who are there to kind of, they lead some minor ceremonies, but they're also a little bit more they're the religious muscle. And certainly they'd be the ones to call on if somebody is running away with a holy text. So we're going to go right in the middle of this with Coyote running away from these. We're going to see if he can get away. Let's switch to our in-game view. So here we have our character sheet. I'll give the quick rundown for those of you who are unfamiliar with the system. real quick, the important stuff up here, these are our stats. When we make certain rolls in the game, we'll be adding those to stuff. On the side, we got some meters. Fuck it. You'll see it in action. I always explain everything way too much. Let's just do it. So anyway, we're going to start off this game with a face danger roll, because we fade in and Coyote Devereaux is, out huffing and puffing, tearing his ass down these, probably trying to lose them in back alleys and stuff, and doing the classic, knocking over fruit stands or whatever. There is a chase, and he's trying to lose them while holding on to this book. Which is something to keep in mind. If he fails this roll, one of the things that could happen, it could indeed be a matter of just like you get away, but you lose the thing. The important bit was holding on to this book, and you lost it. So anyway, let's do this face danger roll. This is definitely with speed, agility, or precision. He's running away. So this is going to be a roll that uses our edge. And yeah, so what's going to happen is this. And in classic Coyote Devereaux style, starting off with a miss. So let me explain this for just the one time I'm going to do how the dice work. I do it every session. So what you're looking at here, you've got these two 10-sided dice, and you got the one 6-sided die. And if you look down below, you can see a little bit of how the math works out. What we're doing is we're adding my edge of 2 to that 2 on the 6-sider. That's why it says action die of 4 down below. Okay. Then we're comparing that number to both of those 10-sided dice over there. It is not greater than either one. 4 is certainly not more than 5. It's also not more than 4. It's equal to 4, and we need to exceed it. Because we did not beat either of those dice individually, we have a miss. If we had beat both of them, we would have a strong hit. If we had beat one of them but not the other, we would have a weak hit. And so what happens is kind of contingent on how well you do. As it stands, we have a miss, and there's nothing we can do about it. Sometimes in this game, we'd be able to use momentum to do something. Not the case right now. If you want a more thorough breakdown of how this all works, I highly, highly recommend you go over to ironswornrpg.com, pick up the PDF, or at least the quick reference of the rules. All of them are available for free on that website. Highly recommend you check it out. It's a cool game. But anyway, let's see what happens on a miss for face danger. So we tried to run away. He's going through these alleys. He's hopping up on things. On a miss, you fail, or your progress is undermined by a dramatic and costly turn of events. Pay the price. Now, I was saying before that it would make sense that the dramatic and costly turn of events could be like he gets away, but not without dropping the book, and then he's like on the other side of a fence or something, and they grab it. But honestly, I kind of want to get Coyote in trouble for this. He did a really bad thing. He's running off with this holy book. He stole it. He certainly needs it, and I understand why that was the choice, but I want to make him pay a little bit more for it. I'm afraid that if I make him just drop the book, all it's going to turn into is then he comes back later, and then he sneaks in and he steals it. And no, let's make him pay more of a price than that. That's just a price of delaying time. So I think this is totally going to turn into a fight. They definitely catch up with him, and it's Coyote, who we know to not be a very good fighter, with these religious guys that probably just have, like, I don't know, what do you guys think? In this setting, do you think they should have weaponry, or, like, because while they are a little bit of the church's muscle, mostly they're just, like, they're subordinates who run different kind of ceremonies and are kind of like ushers and stuff like that. Do you think they should indeed be, like, planning enough for action that they have weapons, or it's just like they're just tough guys and they're going to use their fists? Because that'll influence a little bit about how tough this is. But I want to hear your thoughts. Mine so far, I'm kind of ambivalent. I might just roll I might determine that randomly. Because I don't have strong thoughts either way. I could see them having some kind of mace or club-like implement in a classic, cleric sort of style. But I could also just see it like, yeah, they're just muscular guys, and there's more of them than they are Coyote, so that's why they're threatening. You know what? I think I'm gonna lean. I'm gonna make that be the choice. I don't think that they should be so militaristic an organization that they have weapons ready at all time. It doesn't feel quite right. Even in this hard kind of setting, I think for the most part people leave the church alone enough that they don't have to prepare for that. So, yeah, let's start a fight here. Let me type out some text. We're going to make these guys just troublesome. Because indeed, they're big dudes and there are more of them, but they're not fighters. They just are more of fighters than Coyote is. So this enemy is going to be a group of weavers, because that's what we were calling them before. Let's make this a little bit more visible as red text. There we go. So we have the group of weavers. We're going to just make them troublesome. It's about as easy as a challenge gets, which is good, because Coyote is not great at it. So indeed, like, one of them probably, like, manages to catch up, and I think we've seen before, Coyote is pretty fast, so I don't want it to be a complete, like, always, like, they had him the entire time. I think he almost gets away. But, you know how sometimes, I don't know if you've ever played, like, Madden or something, but you know how you can do the like, diving tackle, and it's a high-risk maneuver, but if it works, like, it's great, but a lot of the time, if you're like me, you accidentally dive too early, and then you're just like, now you're down on the ground. I think one of these guys did the risky maneuver, and like, saw Coyote was probably going to get away if he didn't go for it, and just like, did a diving tackle, and like, just barely, it was like a shoestring tackle, like, just got his feet and made him stumble enough to then be caught by everybody else. Like, the other two came up from behind. So I think Coyote almost managed to lose him, but then just barely, they kind of get him around, and managed to... I don't think they have him surrounded yet. I think that is going to be their first kind of move. But because of the way we've entered this fight, I don't see Coyote as having the momentum. I think he had it in the, like, running away, and they've just taken it from him. So, with it not being on his side, there's only certain types of moves he can make. So I think Coyote is going to be aware that, like, he is outnumbered. He needs to make sure that they don't get behind him. And I think what he's going to try and do is secure an advantage. So he knows that he needs to make sure that no matter what happens, like, he might be able to talk his way out of this fight, maybe, but probably not. And certainly not if he lets them surround him. Then he's just giving up everything he's got right now. He needs to be able to face all of them at once. So I think what he's going to do is he's just going to do a basic kind of feinting move, where he's going to pretend like he's going one direction, then go the other, just to be able to open up a little bit of a hole in their... Because they're probably starting to get around him, and he just sees the opportunity to kind of, like, make it look like he's going one way, but then actually kind of get into this alley so that there's a little bit more of a funnel, and they can't come at him from all sides. So we're going to try and secure an advantage with deception, stealth, or trickery, because, yeah, he's just faking the way he's going to go. It would be either that or speed, agility, or precision. They're both the same stat. They're both 2s, so it doesn't really matter. I guess we are technically... Our trickster ability would kick in, because we are indeed facing danger, securing an advantage, or compelling by lying, bluffing, stealing, or cheating. We're bluffing. It's a feint. I think that goes under what that's meant to accommodate. So yeah, let's do our trickster. We'll get to add +1 to it. And let's see what he can do. So he's going to try and do this. Try and give himself a little bit of the positioning advantage. Possibly even... No, I don't want to wrap too much in this one roll. Alright, let's see. Well, I like the 6 on that die. Oh, man, just barely with that weak hit. Just had to roll that 9. But hey, weak hit, better than what we had before. And thankfully, on Secure an Advantage, weak hit's not all that bad. On a weak hit, our advantage is short-lived. We take +1 momentum. Hey, we need some momentum to get things started anyway. Our track builds up. This is a good opportunity to talk about how momentum works for the one and only time this session. So, momentum. You see it's at a +3 right now. However high this goes up, this will allow us to cancel out, pretend certain dice don't exist. So, for example, well, let's remember it's at a 3, but pretend for the moment it is at a 10. We've fully maxed out our momentum, and we're like, oh man, look at that. I really want that to be a strong hit. What I can do is say, you know what, I am burning my momentum to cancel out any dice that are lower than 10. Which, 9 is lower than 10, 3 is lower than 10. Welcome to remedial math. Both those dice don't exist, which means our result is now higher than any of them. We have a strong hit. Once we burn our momentum, this would go back to our momentum reset value, as it says down below, so it would go to a +1, and then we'd build it up again from there. It's an all or nothing thing. It doesn't matter what you're canceling out, you burn momentum or you don't. As it stands, our momentum is +3, we can't do anything with it. That's why we need to build it up so it'll be more and more likely to be useful. But anyway, it's short-lived, so I think basically what happens is he's got it, but it's only a momentary thing. Like, obviously, it's not that narrow of an alley that he's managed to get himself into. They're going to find a way around, or maybe even go around the building and be able to get him on the other side. One way or another, he's only got a little bit of a moment here to make this work. Oh, you know what else? Okay. I think another thing we could do... Coyote sees this. Even though he's got pretty bad wits, the trickster in him knows that, like, oh wait, they could just go around, like, here's what I would do in this situation. So he knows what to look out for. And so he goes, okay, well, if one of them is going to go around, and I think they do. I think one of them, yeah, let's just say, one of them is starting to go around to get the flank. He knows what's going on, it's going to be short-lived, so he's like, okay, well, I've got this opportunity where there's one fewer than before, and let's just say there's 3 of them. Because that's what I've been imagining in my head anyway. He's going to do another tricky thing to try and get the advantage back so that he can actually start hitting things. What he's going to do, he's going to do another tricky thing, because, I mean, that's his style. He's actually going to give them what they want. He's got this book, he knows they want it, he's going to throw them off their game. There's one of them who's, like, kind of right in front of Coyote. And Coyote does the thing where you, like, toss an object at somebody, and then, like, instinctively they're going to try and catch it, especially if it's something they want, like this book. But Coyote's going to basically, all in one move, like, throw it at him, and then, like, not even stop moving, and try and, like, punch him in the face. Now, depending on how this roll goes, he may or may not be able to actually do that punch. Basically, I can't literally be, like, punching people and, like, deal harm to them unless I have the advantage, which I don't have yet. I need to get a strong hit to get advantage, so working on that. Doing things like tricky stuff to try and get that back. So anyway, yeah, he throws the book in the guy's face and then is, like, gonna go in one quick thing, and while he's distracted, try and deck him. Use this opportunity. So we're gonna do one more secure and advantage. It's basically the same thing as before. We're still... Are we bluffing, stealing, cheating, or lying? Kind of. I still think it's tricky enough. I think it still counts as a trickster type of thing to do. I don't want to get too wrapped up all session in questioning it. I'm just going to foot down and say, yeah, this counts for trickster. And keep moving. So we're going to do our shadow with a +1 again, see if we can get our strong hit out of this to indeed roll this right into, and bam, with the punch. With one of his shitty stats. Sadly, no, a weak hit again, and again, nothing. We're rolling pretty decently on this D6, but just always have that one die that's a little bit too high. Yeah, we keep doing it over and over again. Look at that. Just we keep tying the top die. Nothing we can do about it. Yeah, not quite. So we know, again, it's the advantage is short-lived. So I think what will happen here, okay, we get our +1 momentum, which is still worth something. We're working on it. So he tries. This guy maybe is a little bit too quick and, like, is ready for it. Like, so this holy book, or it's not really a holy book. I keep saying it's a holy book. It is a religious text. It's not like their Bible. It was a book of Apocrypha. It's got all sorts of stuff about, like, the old demons and, like, foul creatures of the world that were there when the world was young, and all the legends and stuff that you're not really supposed to look into unless you're especially learned, because it's dangerous information. Not, like, lock the book up sort of dangerous, but just, like, it's recommended, like, yeah, that's sort of the weirder stuff you probably shouldn't be looking at. It's not the first things you look into in this religion. But not, like, forbidden knowledge. But anyway, so he throws that at him, and the guy is like, cool, I wanted that. And I think he's, I think the advantage being short-lived is he grabs it and then just immediately starts turning around and heading out. He's like, cool, I got it. And, like, is gonna start So we said there's three of them. One of them went around, is like heading around to flank Coyote. It's not quite there yet, but we'll be there probably like next time we do an action. One of them just grabbed the book out of the air and is like going to sidestep behind the third guy who's now in Coyote's way. And guy with the book is just going to make sure the book stays safe. He's going to start like trying to put it away. Because that's ultimately what they're here for. They want Coyote to see punishment because he did steal from them, but more important is get the book back. So he's doing that. And Coyote doesn't get an opportunity to punch him as a result. The other guy stands in the way. He's like, oh, shit, I can't get by. So again, we don't have the advantage yet. I think what he's going to need to do, as I'm scrolling down into the combat moves, I think that it's indeed time, like, your foe has the initiative. Initiative, that's the word I've been looking for. Not advantage, not momentum, initiative. So we're going to do a move called Clash. This is basically when you're being pushed back on your heels and like defensively fighting to like parry blows and stuff. You're not dealing them the damage. You might if you do especially well, but you're mostly defending yourself. And yeah, so the guy steps in the way. Coyote's back on his heels because he does not expect the quick swap like that. They out-tricked the trickster. And yeah, unfortunately, he's going to be using his iron, and that's one of his worst stats. Do I want to rethink this real quick? Because it's indeed, my momentum's not that high. Iron's not great. Okay, so on a strong hit, it would be awesome, but I'm unlikely to get it with a +1. On a weak hit, I get to inflict harm, but then I pay the price, and they keep the initiative. And on a miss, which is pretty likely, I'm out. I basically get nothing and I'm going to pay the price. You know what? Screw it. Coyote, I'm feeling lucky. We've got a 4 momentum. That's enough to cancel out some stuff. And with a +1, it might actually help us out. So, sure. Why not? We're gonna clash this up. And honestly, I've thought about this before the game started. If this goes completely terribly for Coyote and like he gets captured, I'm not 100% against that. I think we could do some interesting stuff with him having been captured by the church. So, no problem. I'm willing to be more risky and stupid for the sake of the story. So Coyote thinks he's got the moment. He was all ready to give that punch, thinking he would have the advantage. And just the initiative, the positioning to do it, he does not. It throws him off a little bit, and so he's trying to get it in there. What happens? There's that miss that I knew would happen, and indeed the momentum is not high enough to help us out. Both those D10s just a little bit too high. So yeah, we are outmatched and must pay the price. Your foe has initiative. So Coyote, I think, just stumbles into this guy's chest and does the like bouncing off and like falling onto the ground. And I think what's going to happen, like, I think right after that, particularly because they already have the book, that person is just going to do, like, dead weight collapse on top of him to try and just hold him down on the ground so that they can, like, all get him together and take him in. And I think this guy's a little bit heavy, hence Coyote bouncing right off him. I mean, Coyote's kind of a slight, sort of weaselly fella. This guy is heavy, and just, like, falling on top of him like that takes the wind out of Coyote a little bit. It really hurts. And so hence the harm that he's about to face. So, yeah, so we're paying the price, which it's just going to be he endures harm, and basically, like, he very well might get pinned here. And he definitely doesn't have the initiative. So when you face physical damage, suffer minus health equal to your foe's rank, which would be -1. Our health is at 0, though, as Coyote has never really been able to heal up. We've had some issues with that. If your health is 0, suffer minus momentum equal to... unfortunately, we lose that momentum we just gained. So go down to 3 momentum. Then roll health or iron, whichever is higher. Sadly, our iron of 1 is higher than our health. So we're going to roll iron, see what happens. Now, the one thing is, if we get a strong hit on this, this does count and will allow us to take the initiative back. So, let's see. Hey, there it is! Look at that! Strong hit right there in chat. Or not chat, but the little dealie on the side. We have our strong hit. Yay! Actually managed to work out. So yeah, he manages to roll with it a little bit. So we get to choose one. Either shake it off. If your health is greater than 0, suffer -1 momentum in exchange for +1 health. It is not. Or embrace the pain. Take +1 momentum. So we do that. We get our momentum back. He embraces the pain. Coyote's been hit before. He is in a desperate enough situation with what's going on with Robert's men and all of that like he's been limping around at this 0 health. Like, he's just used to pain at this point. He's been dealing with it for a long time. So grits his teeth, gets that momentum back, and indeed with the initiative is going to be able to use this opportunity to I'm going to have to deal damage. This is the best opportunity I got. I wish I could find a way to do it with at range with Ed, like our classic throw a rock at him, but he's being held down by this guy right now. But I think Coyote has got an opportunity here to take I don't know, he can find a rock right next to him and just like smash the guy right in the throat because it's right there next to him. And he's using his hands to try and like hold Coyote down, and maybe he's got one that's free. So he finds his moment. This is why he has the initiative, and he's just gonna like smash him in the trachea with this rock. So let's see what happens. We have our ooh, actually. Okay, so here's the thing. Yeah, I should do the harm now because I'm Yeah, because even on a weak hit, I'll still inflict harm. I'm just afraid of losing an... Like, I'd love to make it more likely to succeed. But yeah, fuck it. Quick decisions. Trying to do more of them this time. Using the iron. He hits this guy in the throat. Let's see what happens. Oh, boy, is that a miss. Boy, oh boy. Almost a really problematic miss. If you're looking down below, you can see that there was a 10 and a 9 on those D10s. One of the things that happens in this game is on doubles, it's basically like a critical, either a critical success or a critical failure. And the higher the number, the worse it is. That was almost double 10s, which would have been the worst critical failure possible. My momentum cannot help me here, so unfortunately I don't deal the harm. The guy sees what's happening. It's moonshine time with the way this is going. It's the real problem. Coyote is not a fist fighter, and he's all alone right now. So he does not inflict harm. He will indeed... His attack will fail, and he must pay the price. The enemy sees his initiative back. So I think what happens is Coyote... he tries to do this, but... Indeed, like the... I think what happens is the other guy comes around from the alley. So the guy who had come around now indeed finishes his flank, runs in, and like sees what Coyote's about to do. He's about to peg his friend in the throat with a just smash him with a rock. And before he can, he had that arm free, the other guy just like dives on top of it and pins that other arm down. And the guy who is about to be hit with the rock gets that opportunity now that he's got a buddy helping him out to indeed punch Coyote. He's gonna get some additional harm here. So yeah, let's have him see if he can endure this one again. And yeah, so again we lose our momentum because we don't have the health to lose, and we're gonna see how well he can take it. If I had to guess, it would be a we're not gonna take it. We're not gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. Well, it's a weak hit. Could go worse. So on a weak hit, you press on. Basically, nothing happens. Importantly, I don't seize the initiative here. So now I'm in a pretty bad situation. I haven't dealt any harm to them. This fight is going very poorly, and they've got him in a really bad place here. I think they may well wrap this up in a way that's just gonna kind of deny the opportunity for a fight. Because Coyote, he would have to muscle his way out of this right now, and that is not the type of thing he can really do. He's functionally pinned down. What I could try and do a turn the tide. Because once per fight, when you risk it all, you may steal initiative from your foe to make a move, not a progress move. When you do, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. If you fail to score a hit on that move, you must suffer a dire outcome. Pay the price. Okay. Hey, welcome, Average Genius. We are in the... You have come into Coyote Devereaux, pinned down by religious people who have chased him down after stealing one of their books. And he's about to risk it all. So I need an idea. How is he going to risk it all? Because obviously he's trying to break this pin, but it needs to be more of a like thing he's doing that's especially risky. Okay, I got an idea. I think the risking it all has got to be... Maybe it's the type of thing where he'd have to like let them seem like he's captured and then maybe break out. Yeah, I'm just trying to think what would be the risky thing he could do here that would make sense for a Turn the Tide and not just using it because of the mechanical benefits. He could... Oh, you know what? Okay, so he's got his arms pinned down. And he could do like a headbutt thing, which certainly, if you do it wrong, could really hurt yourself. So yeah, I think Coyote is he's gonna try and do just smash this guy in the nose or something with the one who's directly on top of him with his head. And he's gonna try and turn the tide with this, because that's most of what's holding him down is this one guy's like entire weight on top of most of his body. So if he can get that one to like in pain kind of roll off a little bit, then maybe he can break free. So yes, turn the tide. This is our one opportunity to do this. If this goes badly, I don't see him getting out of this fight. So anyway, we're gonna do our iron with a +1. We got our one shot at this. Cue up your Eminem songs. One in particular. Okay. Here we do. Here we go. Can he pull it off? We still got 3 momentum, so basically not enough to actually do anything. So we gotta get it on the dice. Okay. Okay, it's a weak hit. What happens on that? Okay, well, we do... Okay, it's if you fail to score a hit on the move, and we did score a hit. A weak hit is still a hit. So... Oh, right. I need to be making... So this specific move I would be making would be strike, because I stole the initiative, I'm allowed to do it. So, we got a hit, which means we will get our +1 momentum out of it. And then let's see what else we get on a weak hit on strike. Weak hit, you inflict your harm and lose initiative. Okay, cool. So it works. We don't keep the initiative, but we managed to smash this guy in the nose with our head. We inflict our harm, which thankfully, because they're only troublesome foes, is actually a decent amount of harm. We're going to fill in 3 of these boxes, because they're the lowest ranking of foes. They're just the clothed folk. So we inflict our 3 harm, smash him in the nose. He's given this little bit of an opportunity by rolling off, but otherwise that's all the initiative we have, because we're still just kind of pinned down. Coyote knows he's got to break free. He's got to wiggle his way out of here, which sounds like a face danger move to me. He's just going to try and wriggle his way out of this pin. Now, when everybody had him held down, I think this would have to be directly like an iron move, like he'd just have to muscle his way out. But I think, since right now it's mostly just he's got the one arm, I think he can indeed use some agility to kind of roll, like, use his wiliness to roll in the right way and just... It's like the difference between breaking a grapple with a grappling move or an escape artist move, for those of you who play in 3.5 based games. So yeah, he's doing more of the escape artist route on this. So he's using his speed, agility, or precision. I don't think he's going to be able to use his trickster on this. That doesn't make any sense. It's a very direct, like, I'm escaping a grapple. That's my trick, is I'm going to try and escape. It's a great trick if you can pull it off, but people can usually see what's coming. But he's still going to get to use his edge, which gives him a little bit higher here. And maybe get the initiative. Let's see. So he tries to squirm out. Not so much. Oof. Yeah, so full-on miss on this face danger. Sorry, Coyote, I don't see you getting out of this grapple. You fail or your progress is undermined by a dramatic and costly turn of events. Honestly, with the way this fight is going, and the way I see it likely to go in the future, I think that it makes sense to me the dramatic or costly turn of events as he fails to escape this grapple is the guy, like, he got busted in the nose, but I think somebody winds up coming in and indeed clocking him hard enough to just knock him out. I'm going to make him do the endure harm roll just to see what happens to him as a, like, individual. But no matter what, in the fiction, he's getting knocked out. This fight is over. He will not successfully take them out. And we'll see where he wakes up. So yeah, he definitely gets the dramatic or costly turn of events is, I don't know, like the third guy with the book comes back and just like stomps Coyote on the face or something. Or either that or the throat. It's something that just completely just a hard kick in the head and he's out is I think what's going to happen. So we're going to do that endure harm. He loses that momentum. And is going to get his opportunity here. Let's see how he takes that kick in the head for later. With a miss. Great. So, everybody who's been here for a session before, I was like, this is always how it goes, especially in the beginning. It always starts out, just get deeper and deeper in that hole, Coyote, and then sort of gain an inch back before falling again. So endure harm on a miss. Also suffer -1 momentum, so that goes down again. If you are at 0 health, which I am, you must mark wounded or maimed if currently unmarked, or roll on the following table. Now, I'm already wounded. I would really, really love to not have maimed. So, geez. What do you guys think here? So basically the two options are I could either take maimed or I could roll on a table where if it goes really poorly, I might like have to face death. If I take maimed, I know I'll be okay, but obviously I'm going to be maimed as a character. And it's just going to be problematic for a little while. Maimed, mechanically it won't do a lot. Basically, it's just going to make my momentum reset go down. Anytime I mark one of these things down here, it means that when I reset my momentum, it is at a lower and lower level. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but it's not that bad. It's just another thing to have to get rid of, though. Whereas if I get lucky on the endure harm, if I just roll on the table, I might get lucky and basically nothing happens. Go for the risky play? Cool. Yeah, let's do it. Let's roll these D100s and see what happens. I don't want to be maimed. Also, he was just being kicked in the head by somebody. Oh god, the maimed could be just like it like completely blinds him in an eye forever. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it just kicks it like right in the eye with like a boot. Roll them bones. 77, and indeed, lucky roll. You are battered but still standing. Except, as I narrated, like, he's not going to be standing. This was just, I wanted to know how much happened to him. Basically, I wanted to know if it was going to wind up making him endure death or not. You know, is this a mortal wound? And it's not. He's knocked out. And we fade to black. I know, right? Lucky sevens. We fade to black. Come back. He's got to be in some kind of a church dungeon. I don't see this religion, now that we've explored it a little bit and what it's all about, I don't see it as being that, you know, medieval and just like we have this sprawling dungeon where we torture people all the time. Don't get me wrong, I've played games where there are religions that are totally like that, and I'm more than happy to do it. I don't see it for this one. We talked about Signism and how they're really about kind of portents and reading the future and doing things in accordance with the will of the pattern, like what the pattern has for us all. And with that in mind, what makes most sense to me is obviously there's got to be some kind of a trial, but not in the sense of like you state your case and you defend yourself. I think their trial is far more like a witch trial kind of thing, where it's like, let's see what the pattern says about you and you're innocent, like what we should do with you. Which may turn into something pretty medieval, but I want to see that. Let's see what Signism does when you try and steal from them. How do they take justice into their hands? So yeah, I think Coyote wakes up and like he's definitely being supervised. And he's probably like tied down to something. Like they've got I see him on like a pew or a bench or something. He's on like a bench in a side room that's probably usually being sat on during ceremonies, but they've like taken it out and they've got his hands like manacled underneath the bench, tied with vines. There's no vines in the area. This is definitely more of the like dusty Wild West area, but yeah, they've got him like manacled with his arms on the underside of the bench, and he's in some just side room that's usually being used for I don't know like a closet or something. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. I don't know, what kind of, anybody have any suggestions for what are some other types of rooms that a small town kind of church might have? This is not a sprawling cathedral or anything like that, but it's tied to a tumbleweed. So brambly and thorny. But yeah, like, something that would be aside so he's not going to bother anybody while they wait to have him for, like, the actual trial. And they definitely don't want him to be in, like, it would be an area where there's enough room for him to be supervised. With at least one other person to make sure you're, if nothing else, be able to notify the other people when he wakes up. Maybe they even have him in just like a humble kitchen sort of thing, like a scullery, where they just prepare simple meals for some of the people that are taken in. In fact, yeah, why don't we have a like Quasimodo kind of character who like is one of just the untouchables sort of thing, and like he lives in the church and helps out. Like he's not like a man of the cloth, but he helps out with a lot of things, like indeed cleaning up after the like in the scullery. Like he's the guy he's looking after him. And he's not one of the weavers. He wasn't one of the people who chased Coyote down or anything like that. But yeah, let's. I want to do a little oracle about this. We have these random generators. I want to get an idea for. I want to know his goal here, because I would do description and I could also randomly generate. I know you can't see the drop down, but character role and character description. I think we have an idea of that. I want to know more about like what's important to this person. How might Coyote indeed be able to sway him? Can we read him and know a little bit about what he wants? And let's see. What does the generator say about his goal? Undermine a relationship. There needs to be alcohol, and we need to see Coyote struggles with booze. We haven't explicitly explored struggles with booze yet, but I think there's, at the very least, there's definitely alcohol around here. I don't see this as a religion that bars it. In fact, it's probably more the one where, like, given their focus on, like, reading signs and seeing stuff, I see it more like Oracle of Delphi sort of thing, where they probably embrace the more hallucinogenic or, like, lose yourself in the, get yourself into a state to be able to see things that the pattern means for you to see. So I think there's alcohol and other types of things around there. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if they keep them in the kitchen, because it's not for like regular consumption, more like religious rituals. But I think the church has them in places. But alcohol would certainly be around just as a thing to drink with your meal. You probably can't get all that clean of water necessarily, but you can, if you get some whiskey or some fine moonshine. All right, so this person wants to undermine a relationship. So definitely not the full-on Quasimodo thing. What if, and feel free, as always, to contribute your own ideas, but what if the relationship they want to undermine, like, maybe the people of the church don't exactly treat this untouchable person all that great either. And, like, what if this person, name to be determined, wants to have more of a role in the religion, but they won't let them. Like, they think that their whatever, deformities or whatever they've got, which I definitely want to go that full route. Like, I think they look fucked up and had just like birth defects and something that they thought they could get better treatment from the church, but like even here, they're nice, but they won't let the person participate, and I think that is rubbing them the wrong way. And I think the relationship that this person wants to undermine, because it's not like he wants to take down the church or anything like that, but I think he wants to ruin the relationship between maybe one particular member of this church, one of the weavers or something that he deals with more directly, who has perhaps been a particular asshole, and wants to undermine his relationship with Latia, the lady who is in charge of this this church, the person who runs it. So yeah, maybe there's just a little bit of bad blood between some of the members here, and there's a chance Coyote might be able to pick up on that and use it to his advantage. Maybe, maybe not. He's not the most observant fella, so it may not just come up, but it would be nice for us to know, just in case. What motivates this person? And for our last thing, we should get a name. So we're gonna, especially, I've been reading a lot of Apocalypse World lately, and this person is about to speak, and one of the rules in that is if they're important enough to have words, if they say anything, they should name everybody. Wants to undermine someone who may threaten the church. That's another idea. It's true. Undermining somebody who may threaten the church. I'm trying to think which one might lead more immediately interesting direction. They're both good ideas. Okay, so name. Considering they come off of Quasimodo. I'm not going to literally name him that, but I'm going to give him a Q name in kind of full recognition that's where it comes from. Oh, Don. Sure. We can just go with Don. Don. And then the Q is Quixote. No, not quite. Just Quim. I don't know. I like that as a last name. So Don Quim. So Don Quim is the name of this kind of malformed, just generically, like they got clearly birth defect kind of weird sort of droopy face and probably all sorts of odd skin conditions and nodules and stuff. And nothing wrong with that, but it is immediately apparent when you look at their face. Do you think this is a person who would hide it? Or just embrace it and be like, you know what, this is what I got. I think maybe in the outside world, maybe hide it, but here in the when inside the halls of the church, was probably comfortable enough with the interaction with people that maybe probably just doesn't hide it. Yeah, so right now I think he's probably got a hood that he could pull up, but is not. And yeah, so Coyote fades back in, manacled to this bench. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm seeing as well, Genius. Like, doesn't hide it. Definitely doesn't want to discuss it, but is not going to hide it here. It's a known enough thing that... it's certainly not the thing he would get into with somebody he just met. Be like, let me give you all of my backstory of how all the treatment I've received and what has and hasn't worked about my face. I think they've also got just like some weird bone issue. He probably doesn't walk quite right. Just because some kind of like knocked knees and like just some bones that just don't set quite correctly, and so he's got a very pronounced limp. And a very you know what, you were talking about alcoholism. Let's have this guy have a very kind of one of those classic cherry red noses. I think in particular because of the shabby treatment he's been receiving, this guy's probably a drinker to escape that kind of forget about that sort of stuff and deal with it. I think there's alcohol in this kitchen largely because this person keeps a lot of it here. There's probably a lot of more bottles than people know about hidden in places. So yeah, got like kind of a very big bulbous cherry red nose with just a lot of just like popping veins sort of at the surface, or capillaries at the surface. Not veins, just large, huge veins. And he's got a very strong birth defect. So yeah, Coyote wakes up, and there's this guy. You can hear the sound of just like sort of like a steel wool against, or whatever they would use. But I assume steel wool has been around for a very long time, or something like that. Just some kind of very abrasive thing at the inside of just like an iron pot. And he's just cleaning some stuff, idly keeping an eye on, like he knows when this is supposed to happen. And I think he immediately hears the kind of moaning that you hear from somebody who just came out of being unconsciousness from being kicked in the side of the head. So, reflexively, whether he wants to or not, I think Coyote is just kind of give out a little bit of a moan. Or you know what? Let's see if he can or not. Let's make a roll. He's going to try, like, as if he has his full capacity, he's going to try and, like, keep the advantage at being stealthy. And not making it clear that he's awake. So, we're going to do a secure an advantage, I think is what makes it most sense here. Again, if you want to follow along with these, what these rolls are I'm making, like the moves list I'm referring to, or just the full rules, all available for free at ironswornrpg.com. You can follow along with what's happening here. So that's the quick ad that I do midway through the stream. So he's going to secure an advantage because he is going to try and gain leverage with stealth. Deception, stealth, or trickery is a shadow roll. He's trying to make it so hide the fact that he has woken up, keep himself quiet, and like see what he can do to maybe have a chance to escape before he's being seen. You're pulling up her tab up right now. Awesome, yeah. Highly recommend it. 100% free. It's a really cool RPG. If you don't want to read the whole rules right now, at the very least they have kind of quick references that I'm reading right now. They might be helpful. But yeah, even the full game is a pay what you want thing, so pick it up. It's a cool one. We are definitely using... Oh no, we're not lying, bluffing, stealing, or cheating, so we're not using our trickster. Yeah, it's just a straight shadow roll. Let's see how this goes. Oh, you know what? After this, I need to remember to get rid of this fight that's going on, because that just failed. Hey, look at that. We start off with a miss on secure an advantage, which means... you fail, or your assumptions betray you, pay the price. I think it's basically just... It's not like a big... It's not like the guy comes over and be like, oh, my god, you were trying to be tricky. Bam! I'm going to punch you in the head. No, I think the price in this way... It's a low-stakes thing that he was doing right now. I think it's just... He loses... He may have had an opportunity to try and escape without being seen, but when he wakes up, he's not able to keep it. Like, he moves in a way, like, he... When looking around his environment... You know that thing where, like, you've been sick and lying down for... hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and then you stand up, yeah, accidentally drops a knife. Okay, no, it's nothing like that. And then you stand up for the first time and your head just fucking aches because you've been horizontal for way too long. Now combine that with having been knocked out. I think he does that thing where like he too quickly, he rolls his head over to the other side and it has that basic effect because he's trying to look around the room and get a sense of his environment. And when his head does that, he can't help but moan out. And so he loses any opportunity to do anything by trying to get his bearings. The Don turns around and sees him there. And he does a quick hobble over. I think because of his... I think maybe he's even got a crutch, given his pronounced limp. It's enough that... you know what? No, I don't... Maybe... Yeah, maybe he can't... Maybe he'd love to have a crutch someday, but he's just like kind of having like one hand on the counter, kind of like shuffling over. He does certainly have a limp, yeah. But I think he's like supporting himself on a counter right now, just like hobbling along over to Coyote. And I think he's got a very sort of interestingly judgmental tone to him. I like the idea that even though he's mistreated by a lot of people and looked down on, it's not like he's just the humble, like, oh, and I am nice to everybody else because I don't like it. I think he's not exactly the nicest person either, because years of abuse kind of tend to harden you up. And I think he's very judgmental. And particularly seeing somebody who's being bound up, like, this is somebody who's being treated worse than he is, I think he's going to lord it over him a little bit. And just kind of, like, cluck his tongue a little bit and go, like, They'll be most interested to know that you've awoken, Mr. Devereaux. In a spot of trouble you've gotten yourself. And he, like, really peers down over him to look at the... and, like, think it like grabs his chin and like moves over to the side and leans in to look at the spot where he was kicked in the head and goes, "Looking rather nasty, yes, 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 yes." And then like goes back and like starts going back to like put his rag down to get ready to hobble out of the room, and then with his back turned says something along the lines of like, "Of course, depending on what they see, it could go far, far worse for you," as he's like kind of making his way out the room. Coyote, I think, would like to... He sees an opportunity here because this is a guy that obviously is less physically adept than the other people he was facing before. If he can keep this to be one-on-one with this guy, he's probably got an opportunity. He might be able to actually be stronger than somebody here. So he wants to do everything he can to keep it to just them, which means he needs to stall this guy from leaving. So how would he do it? He's not capable of doing a lot right now. He can't really do much in the way of moving. His hands are pretty restricted. He's mostly restricted to talking. He could yeah, of course. I don't know why I didn't think of that immediately. Of course, insult him. That's what right. It's what happens in the movies. You get the kind of come back and start getting stupid. And this guy would be really easy to insult. He's got the horrible deformities and everything. Of course. Of course. So yeah, the move this would be, I think, is really a. I think I'm gonna look to see if there's a better one. I think it's a face danger. Is my leaning right now? He's just doing it with by being a shithead and making fun of somebody. I want to see if there's something that fits a little bit better though. Oh, you know what? No, it's a compel move. So this is a compel. He's trying to persuade somebody to do something. The thing he's trying to persuade somebody to do is come back and drop his guard by inciting, threatening or inciting. Yes. But yes, there is indeed a better fitting move for this. He is indeed inciting this person. Unfortunately, that is an iron move, which he's not great at. If only he had a way to do this the nice way, it would go a lot better. Because that would be a heart move. But it makes more sense in the fiction. Like, I don't see the way that he could charm this person right away. He doesn't know enough about him. I could have him make the logical leaps and, like, we know the way to this guy's heart, but it doesn't make sense for Coyote to make that lucky of a guess. So I think Coyote's going to try and do the insight. It just won't go all that well for him. Probably. Maybe the dice will love me, though. They always do. So we're going to make our iron move. By just inciting this guy, by just... I think what he's going to say is, yeah, I'm sure by the time they're done with me, I'm going to look more like you. And then you can hear the studio audience going, "Oh!" and all that. Let's see how it works. Okay, could be worse. Oh, we almost had a strong hit there. Look at that. Just barely didn't. We have a weak hit, though. So as above, which means it's like a strong hit, except they ask something in return, envision what they want. So we get +1 momentum, and we get to make a move and add +1 if it's a gather information. Which it's not. We're not using this to get information out of him explicitly. We just wanted him to turn around, and not leave yet, which he does. But he wants something in return. Now, this isn't like a normal compel where, like, we're asking him to do something, he's doing it. We're getting him to instinctively do something. So it's not like he's like, okay, I'll turn around, but only if. He just, what would he basically take from Coyote? I mean, he wants his dignity back. Yeah, if only there were a literal way to do this. And this is kind of a weird situation. Like, the most direct thing there's a couple of things we can do. Oh, and ask the Oracle if unsure. Let's do that. So let's see. We already know the character's goal. I'm going to see if plot twist helps me out. If not, I think I have a bit of an idea where we might be able to take this. Let's see what sort of thing this might be a little bit too hard in the sense of like the plot twisting for what I'm looking for, but you are too late. Yeah, it isn't quite the table I was looking for. So I think what we're going to have here, I don't know, I feel like this guy is really wounded by the words, and I think he's going to be hurting Coyote until he apologizes. I think he's going to, I think he's going to sit down on Coyote and lean down with his weight on his hand, on his throat. Not in a direct full on torture sort of way, just to the level of it being uncomfortable. And I don't think it's explicitly him saying, apologize and I'll stop doing this, so much as he will stop if Coyote apologizes, but for now, he's just going to be, causing harm to him, and spilling out the contents of his bag a little bit. I think he's going to be saying, everybody thinks that they're the first person to make fun of what's going on here, and nobody takes the opportunity, and this is the moment where he starts kind of leaning on him, to really consider what it must be like to be hearing that constantly day in and day out. That everybody thinks they're the most clever person to insult the way I learn. We're gonna make him do his endure harm move. So we know we've done a bunch of these this session. Actually, no, because he doesn't need to endure harm because this isn't a miss. He didn't he's not paying the price. I just need to find a way to make this a clear thing that he needs from Coyote. Maybe you could just what if it's not a direct thing from Coyote as much as because this is a little bit more of a weird situation. Maybe what he needs is restitution. I'm rolling back a little bit. I'm not doing the full he's leaning on the throat thing. I think that he wants things to be made better, and he just he'll come back just to rub in that when the trial comes, he'll get his opportunity to speak. And it's basically Don Quim will remember that, and it's just going to be more added against you. And so he's just rubbing that in, and he's just ordinarily during the trials, and he's just getting in his face right now. Ordinarily during the trials, I'd take a step back and just let them happen the way they're going to. And right in his face, his breath reeks of all of the amount of just whiskey he's been drinking. It is, even if he hasn't been drinking recently, it's there's just a whiskey coating inside his throat that's just always there at this point. He's got a whiskey membrane. I usually just let things happen as they will, but in this situation, I think I'm going to have to make a statement. Yes, I think so. And during this opportunity, Coyote's not going to waste it. We've seen him escape from handcuffs before. He's going to try and do it again. He doesn't. Last time he did it, it was because he had kind of the ability to take one of his hidden lockpicks. His hands are in a position he's not going to be able to do that this time. But I think he's still just slender enough. He can kind of do the I just got skinny wrist and I'll just squeeze my way out while this guy's distracted. So we're going to try and do that. This is definitely a face danger move. But he is doing it with deception, stealth, or trickery. Well, actually he's not. He's just doing it with speed, agility, or precision. He's just using his agileness to get out. Thankfully, it's mechanically the same. He has the same amount of edge as he does shadow, so it doesn't matter. But he's going to try and use this edge to just pop his way out of these handcuffs. And let's see if he can manage to do that. So, edge move. And here we go. But no. As we see down below, the D10s are just too high. I'm rolling decently on my action die consistently. I'm getting some decently middling values, but just facing against too high of odds, it's just not working. I think the one full-on success we've had this session has been how well he took a punch. That's the only thing we've been successful at so far is I took a punch to the best of my ability. Everything else has been like just shit. So a full-on miss on face danger, you fail or your progress is undermined by a dramatic and costly turn of events. Honestly, I think what happens here is maybe the way this guy has been speaking is been getting a little bit louder and louder, and just one of the other church people hears him, and just somebody else comes in the room, and Coyote loses his opportunity here to escape before or do something before the trial happens, and more people get in the room. Somebody else comes in, probably a group of weavers again, almost certainly including the ones that actually attacked him, if not those exact three. So yeah, the Weavers come in, and Latia, or the Weavers come in. Latia's not there. They're here to bring him to Latia. And Coyote, I think he's going to just he's going to compel them to. He needs to know more about what's coming to him, because Don is talking all about this trial that's happening and how it could go badly. He's not a member of this religion. He doesn't actually know what to expect. I want somebody to tell him. He needs to know so that he can formulate a plan. And basically know, like, do I need to escape, or can I will I be okay? Just letting things happen as they will. Forgot to delete those. So yeah, I think they come in the room, and one of them, probably the one who indeed kicked him in the head, just goes, "So, how's it feeling?" And Coyote's going to steer it in basically the same way as before. It's like, from what I understand, about as well as it's going to in the future. Hey, in the sense of fairness, anybody mind telling a man with a throbbing head what exactly he's about to be looking at here? Come on. And so he's trying to use compel with charm, pacify, barter, or convey. He's using his heart to be like, look, I'm just some weak little guy. Like, come on, help a brother out. It's all fairness, right? Just tell me, what's this trial all about? How does it work? He knows what it's about. He knows what he's on trial for. But how does this work? So let's see. Can he compel somebody in the room? He's looking at the Weavers, but can somebody tell him just some information? This will indeed be using it to gather information. So, we're going to roll our heart first, see how this goes. Hey, there we go. Finally, the turntables. We get not only a strong hit, but we actually get one of those criticals I was talking about. You lit a candle named Pear, or a pear cider candle. It does, I imagine. Pear's got I love the taste and the smell, yeah. Jealousy over here. So we have an opportunity, as it says down below. We have a critical hit. Now, it's a relatively low-end critical hit, but still. First, let's see. It is a strong hit, so let's do all the things that entails. So on a strong hit, they do what you want or share what you know. So they will indeed answer the question. Take +1 momentum. Cool, we're going to need that for this trial. So take +1 momentum. If you exchange this to gather information, make that move now and add +1. We will be doing that. But an opportunity here. I mean, we certainly could go with the opportunity of like, it is a critical. We could do the, like, something allows him to escape from the manacles. Like, oh, you know what? Okay, I got it. So we talked about how Don was, like, leaning all up in his face and everything. I think during this moment, Don is still there. He hasn't gone anywhere. And, like, he's got the right angle where, like, kind of hidden from what everybody else can see. Don maybe has the keys to these manacles. and they just finally, like, slipped out of his pocket, so there's a key dangling, something that he could grab. So if Coyote can keep this guy talking, maybe he can steal the keys and get out of this without having, like, he's got this opportunity here. That feels like a decent, like, oh, cool opportunity happening that's not too powerful. Hey, come on up, buddy. Welcome to the stream, Slava. Hey, Indulged.
Joined the Jester's Court.
Thank you. Thank you for rejoining the Jester's Court for 9 months now. The Midnight Jester in front of you. Thanks you quite a bit. Thank you for your support. Ordinarily, I'd be like, oh, do you have a song in the queue? I'll bump it to the top, but that'll be more of a matter of tomorrow night. So, yeah, we need to make this gather information roll. We need to make a couple of rolls. So we're going to have to gather information, see how much they'll tell them about this. But we also need to do this face danger to try and steal these keys, because there is no way. Where's Grayson? He's around somewhere. Probably in another room. I mean, definitely another room because he's not here. There is no way that Coyote would notice the keys out of the pocket and not try and use that opportunity, because there's a good chance he's going to need to, indeed, book it out of here. Or, indeed, just keep the keys on his person to, like, know that he can escape at any given time. Ah, man, we haven't heard this one in a while. Let's hear your theme. There's the song request that got bumped in the queue. So yeah, let's do our gather information. So we're asking questions. It would ordinarily be a wits thing. It is not a devious scheme. We can't use our tricksterness. This is just a regular church sort of thing. Like that, this is how they do their own inner trials. So it's not about a devious scheme. So we're gonna make a wits roll with a +1, which is good because we don't have the wits to back us up, but we have that +1. So it's like one of our middling abilities now. So let's see what happens here. Add that +1 modifier in, and see how much they'll tell them about this. Okay, a week hit's worth. Man, the dice are always. I roll these 3D dice and they always roll out of the area, so it's a good thing you can just see all the results down below. In fact, it pops up there before it even shows up on screen. That's the spoiler area down below. So, on a weak hit on gather information, the information complicates your quest or introduces a new danger. Envision what you discover, ask the Oracle if unsure, and take +1 momentum. Honestly, the momentum is kind of the best part about this. The information is interesting, and I kind of want the weak hit. So, alright, this is where I need some inspiration from the oracles and from you, the collective chat oracle. We need some kind of thing that's dangerous or complicated about the way they do this trial. Now remember, this is the Church of Signism. S-I-G-N-I-S-M. So they're all about finding signs. They are all about, divining the truth and stuff like that. They're the ones that they'd be more inclined to do things like tarot readings or tossing people in rivers to see if they drown or not. Like, it's those kind of signs that they're looking for of the way the pattern is meant to be. So there's something about the way this... Now, the trial could indeed be something like that, where it's one of those, like, witch trial sort of things, where it's like, if you're on trial, you're already boned, there's no good outcome. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now, I wasn't going to make them this medieval, but the rolls have kind of pushed us in this direction. They draw blood with a rusty spoon. Well, that's something. I was thinking a little bit worse. What if they did a type of thing where it's like... I think, like so many religions, fire and the stuff is associated with, like, evil. There's a hot hell down below, and so fires in general and being able... The evil creatures aren't burned. So I think it's one of those things where they see how close you get to the flames. They light this ritual fire and get you closer and closer to see at what point you start burning and feeling like at what point you catch on fire, basically. And so if you catch on fire at the proper point, if you catch on fire early enough, then you're like a devout person and are worthy of some amount of mercy. Yeah, exactly. There could be some magic herb type of stuff. But if you don't, if you can withstand the pain of a certain amount, like, well, no, because you could hold on. That's not good because you could just fake that. Because all it would take is just shouting out immediately, unless it's literally about catching on fire. But yeah, so we need something like that, some kind of trial where there's no winning, to be this complication in what he learns. I mean, I like the raw idea. Just I need a way that's not just so easily gameable, or maybe it is, and they just haven't thought it through. Maybe it's just one of the. Yeah. So what if they? I mean, we could do the opposite. Yeah, you could be forced to take a trip. We did do a magical trip earlier in the much earlier episode for a very different reason. But because Coyote would not be all that against, I think it's got to be something that's so immediately just like, oh, I do not want to do that. But it does have to be. It has to be about divining a truth. So yeah, I think it could indeed be. There's like some. Okay, how about this? This way it's scalable for the type of crime you have. I got an idea. So basically, they start telling him about how all the charges are levied about what he has done, and depending on how many charges there are and how serious they are, they add more and more to this thing that gets burned. And maybe they're a religion that actually is about like withstanding heat. Like the devout can withstand fire. Explicit fears Coyote have, not that we've established, but we could certainly make him afraid of fire here. I'm not opposed to that idea. We haven't explicitly seen him deal with it yet. And I like the idea of him being explicitly afraid of the thing. That's a good idea. So yeah, I think maybe it's the type of thing where like they tie you to a post or something. Like they put you in a proximity to a thing that's going to burn, the amount of which is based on how much you have done. And if you withstand all of that heat, then you're given more mercy. And like your trial is complete, you've done your penance. But if you can't, then well the fire takes it out of you. And the fire does its own sort of work. Yeah, exactly. Why did it have to be safe? So that sort of thing. So yeah, I think if it's like murder and like high up things like that, it's basically an amount where there's like no way to withstand it. And if you do, they'll probably consider that a sign that you're a demon of some sort. So yeah, I think they explain this to him that there's going to be a bit of they're going to gather everybody up in a room, and there's going to be a talk where people will be able to levy all the charges, that all the witnesses will be able to come forth and say what they will about his character. There's like some wiggle room depending on observed character and like known history. So people will put everything they've got. It will be decided how much he has to withstand, and then he will have to make it through the ignition. Is probably what they call it. And yeah, Coyote's not a fan of that. I like the idea that he is explicitly afraid of fire. Now, granted, we had him grab the side of a hot pot before, but that wasn't the fire. That was just high heat. I think maybe something happened in his past that we haven't fully explored, but I'm gonna make a note about it here, because I really like the idea. Coyote has a phobia of fire, which I think is the type of thing where like really small fires you can deal with, but like the bigger the fire, the more problematic the phobia is. He's kind of like the Hound. So yeah, he has a phobia of fire, which gets more pronounced with larger fires, and he's pretty sure this is going to be a large fire. Maybe. I mean, it wasn't the holy book he stole. But anyway, has a phobia of fire. It gets more pronounced with larger fires. Something probably happened in his past. We don't know what it is yet. We have a big question mark to open up later. Probably happened in his past. So, the second roll that I wanted to make here, there's some dangling keys. And he is not a fan of being around when this fire is happening. And it's looking very likely that, now that he knows, there's no version of this where it's just like he gets to present his case and then there's no fire. Short of him being able to talk them all the way down to there was no crime, there is nothing to withstand. There's no version of this that involves no fire. So, he wants to get out of here before it happens. And we're going to do that with our face danger. Now we are, thankfully, stealing. So we get to have our +1 on this. We're doing Shadow with a +1. He's going to try and just, like, his hands are cuffed down below this bench, but he can just barely kind of really extend out and maybe snag these keys before, and, like, put him into a, I see it as maybe he's got, like, there's, like, a pocket on the back of his waistcoat, like what I'm wearing. Like, there's a small pocket back there that he can tuck it into. Let's see if he is successful. So, Shadow with a +1. Weak hit. And again, nothing where momentum can help us. Okay. I have to look at this every time. So with a weak hit, we succeed but face a troublesome cost. So, oh right, this is the one where one of our meters is going to go down. Either we lose momentum, harm, stress, or supply. I don't see a way to make it make sense to lose supply. I don't want somebody to just fall out of his pocket. It's dumb. I can easily see a way that, given all their talk about being burned on a big pyre, and this is his phobia, I definitely see his spirit going down. And knowing, like, just how poorly this could go, it's very stressful. He's going to endure that. His spirit's going to go down. Let me just see if there's anything else that we have to do on an endure stress move. I don't think so. Oh, actually, there is. Okay. When you face mental shock or despair, like the recognition that he might be burned alive, suffer spirit equal to your foes. Yeah, we've lost our 1 spirit. Then roll plus spirit or plus heart, whichever is higher. Heart is definitely higher. And yeah, I've been forgetting to do this. I've not been engaging with all the rules, so let's finally do it. Roll our heart, see what happens. Hey, there we go. Strong hit. So, on a strong hit, choose 1. Shake it off if your spirit is greater than 0, which it is. Suffer -1 momentum in exchange for +1 spirit, or embrace the darkness and take +1 momentum. Honestly, I as a player would rather have the momentum right now than the spirit. So I'm going to take the momentum. I'm going to embrace the darkness. So let's explore a little bit. What is the difference? He's not okay with this. This sounds to me like a little bit of a there's a turn in Coyote in this moment where he knows. Oh, you know what? Okay, so the darkness is that, they burn alive sinners. And we've often been having this kind of balancing act between, is Coyote going to lean a little bit more into being honored and more like an Ironsworn that he's kind of looking out to be, or is he going to keep sticking to this, like, being a shithead, like always lying and stealing and being a real trickster? And I think this is the way it's going to turn him back in that direction. It's like, well, if I'm going to be burned, it's like if you're going to do the time, you might as well do the crime. Like, if they're going to see me as this kind of awful person, I might as well be the awful person. So, yeah, it's this kind of, like, some of the more paladin sort of things we've been seeing in him start taking more of a back seat, and it brings out again, like, this is how the world sees me. Why bother being anything else? The deck is stacked. I'm put in this no matter what I do, I'm putting this situation, and obviously he's overlooking the fact that he's in this situation because he was an asshole who stole from a church. But, like, no matter what I do, I'm put in this situation where there's no way to avoid fire. Even the good people aren't good. Like, fuck it. What does it matter? They want oh, you know what it really is. I think he's going to turn towards the, they want fire, I'll show them fire. If they're gonna, that's what it is. If they're gonna set me on fire, I'm not the only one who's gonna go up in a blaze. And I think, here we go. So Coyote, as we know from previous sessions, has been talking about how he's not going to keep swearing vows willy-nilly. These are important things. This is a moment. He's got these iron manacles on, so he's touching iron right now. He can make a new iron vow, and I'm going to make him do this. His vow is, he's going to vow under his breath. Nobody's going to hear him. He's going to try and whisper that he's going to burn, like, no matter what happens, he's going to make sure this church burns to the ground. He's going to make an iron vow. This is why I love this guy. Thank you for suggesting he's afraid of fire. This is perfect. New iron vow. We've talked before about how, let's see, no matter what happens, this church burns. And I see this as being just, I don't know if this is troublesome or dangerous. Honestly, I think it's just troublesome. I don't think it would be that hard to burn down a church. It's just like the weight on your soul. So we're just going to make it a new troublesome vow. The bigger problem with it is just that he kind of swore in a non-vow way that he would stop making all these vows if he wants to get his official training. Because we've talked about how these things are kind of, they can be addictive if you're not, if you don't have a proper mental defense against that pull. Maybe that'll be a direction we have to explore. If setting a church ablaze will help him get over that fear. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Personally, and we're not there yet, but I like the idea that it being a little bit more of a complicated thing where it's like, I don't think he would get over his fear. I think it would bring it out. Like, he does it out of fear, but then seeing that much fire probably terrifies him. It makes him not only afraid of the fire itself, but afraid of the inside of like that. It, you know, what he did. I think it brings out the fear. It highlights it more than helps him get over it. But we'll see when the moment arrives, if it arrives. Knowing Coyote Devereaux, it's not usually smooth sailing to get to the things he wants. But yeah, he mumbles under his breath while these iron manacles are on him, and they can't see it because he's underneath. Oh, he's also holding the iron key. Yeah, exactly. It's all symbolism. So he's got the keys and the manacle. They're all iron, and they've got like a faint glow underneath the bench that he's manacled to, so nobody can see it. But if somebody were looking, like from a mouse's point of view underneath, they could see just this. It's starting to glow, and I think we've seen the glow before that happens when he swears on iron, where it starts getting like it's red hot. I think this time, like, not only does it do that, but it's got kind of like a flickeriness. Like the glow kind of goes in and out, almost like a flickering flame. And you can just see in the shadows down below underneath the bench, they get a little bit more pronounced and dark. And we can see kind of the corruption coming out. The like, this is not the way the Ironsworn are supposed to work. They're not supposed to make vows for this sort of stuff. He's turning to the dark side, and we're seeing it in the glow. There's something corrupted about it. It's not strong, and somebody needs to set him on the right path, or it could go very poorly, and to a point of no return. But anyway, he has the keys. And I think what he's going to do, so there's a few waypoints along the way. Waypoint number 1, he needs to escape from these manacles. But he needs to do it in a way where nobody notices. I think if he can do that, then when they set things ablaze, he can suddenly burst forth and like make the fire spread where it's not supposed to. And then get the church set on fire. So number 1, honestly, I know it's kind of a cheat, but I feel like the fact that he's already stolen the keys to these manacles, they kind of happened at the same time, but in a way he's kind of achieved that milestone of like, he has keys. He has a way out of these manacles. In any other situation, that would be a milestone towards this vow right now. So it's a little bit of a cheat, but I'm going to give it to him. Because I want this vow to be a quick one. And, like, I don't know. I'm being a little bit more lenient on myself tonight. And a little bit more seat in my pants, not just evaluate things forever. So I think he's hit that milestone. He has these keys. He has a way out. Okay, so I've got I was looking at the clock. About a half hour left. So we got time to indeed explore the trial a little bit. I think that we can take this right up until the moment of the fire. So we have the like Chrono Trigger moment where it's the like where we're sitting like doom doo doo doom doo doo doom doom doo doom, and like the people are coming in, and all of our decisions from earlier in the game are coming out to fight us. I think in this case it's only the church people. I think they call on like there. We talked about how before there's the was it Roxy, I believe? Yeah. So we had Roxy, Roxi, who was the person who led him to the church to begin with. She's a very devout person, and so you feel there should be a possibility of becoming tormented if the church burns. Yeah, quite. Oh, as a burden, I agree that could very much be a thing. You could have to have that burden. So technically, those happen. Those are a thing that happen when like your spirit gets too low. But I could definitely understand that just being a kind of like you've just earned that. I like the idea. Do remind me if I forget. So the trial happens. Roxy shows up, and I think we'll vouch for him that because she was a believer. He convinced him, because let's say this ceremony happens in normal church services. So like anybody who would ordinarily be in the congregation is there, because the idea is that anybody from the community, pro or against, could come up to speak on their behalf. Like that's their idea of what makes this fair. Is like, now granted it's only church folks, so it's not really like anybody could come vouch, but they only care about the church folk. So because they do this during a regular service, everybody has the opportunity to stand up and say something. It's mostly people saying things against Coyote. Yeah, let's zoom in and explore this a little bit. So Latya starts the ceremony, and we can kind of hear it going on muffled while Coyote is being led. He's letting them, like they unlocked him from the bench and then are locking him again, and they're just leading him with him. He's manacled and all of that. And at this point, he has the keys just in his fists, ready to use when he needs them. But we can hear muffled down the hall where they're leading him, the Latya beginning the ceremony, finishing up some kind of sermon or something, and we don't hear the full contents of that, but we hear the transition as she then goes, "But unfortunately, it is time to take this in a different direction. For me, we are looking toward, due to recent events that happen within these halls, we must have an ignition." And there's murmurs from all throughout the church. Now I know. These are not always the most pleasant things to have to witness. However, it is our duty to do as the pattern wills, whether it be the things we enjoy or the things that we loathe. All things from the pattern must be experienced. And so it is our obligation to be here not only during the initial stages of the ignition, where accusations are levied. It is also our duty to witness and be there for the full flames of the ignition. Now, as we know, there are many people who believe that this is something that should be shielded from the eyes of the young. Some disagree with this. Some think that it is important that from a very young age we witness what the pattern has in store for all of us. Personally, I have positioned myself with those who believe that children are not formed enough to be this close to the most incendiary portions of the pattern. And so if you have young children, I ask you to leave at this point. You may escort them out. Decide now if they are ready and able to witness what is going to happen, because it is our obligation, if we see the beginning, to see it through to the end. And so there's a moment where some people with their children indeed leave. Some people decide that it's kind of, there's some children that are like 10 or something like that, where it's more of a judgment call. Like, are you old enough now to see what could be a man burned to death? And in this society, that's more of a question. So some of the older adolescents are still around, but some of the parents have escorted their children out. Well, with that out of the way, we should bring forth the accused. And so and she looks over towards the side passageway where they the wings of this pulpit where they've been keeping him, and the weavers come out with Coyote Devereaux and his manacles and all that. I don't know if they would remanacle him to anything. I think they would just stand there right behind him. Like there's two weavers right behind him. Nobody's that worried about. He's not like Hannibal Lecter, where they just need to be so cautious with him. They don't know how wily and how much he's escaped from previous stuff before he is. So they're standing there, and Latia starts it off by saying to everybody, well, let's say some time has happened. I don't know, maybe this happened the day before. So yesterday evening, the man who stands before you came into these halls, claimed to be a member of our faith, very quickly demonstrated, if not that he was lying, that he has much to learn about the true principles of the faith. And afterwards, after talking about one of our apocrypha, and she's holding up, they took it back, this very book of apocrypha, when I denied it to him until he became a full member of our family, he snatched it from my hands and fled. It took the actions of our weavers to bring him down and bring him back here for his justice. These are the charges I levy against him. And she, no, I get they do the official count later, I think. I don't think that every step of the way they're like, okay, that's worth this amount of incendiary stuff. They'll do that at the end. If there are any else within these halls who wish to speak on the behalf of the accused, speak on behalf of the accused, may they step forth at this moment. And so we talked about, I think Roxy will step forth, and they had a brief conversation where she was convinced that he was all gung-ho with this. And so, yeah, she says, she steps up to the front of the room and probably takes a position right alongside Latia and says, I wish everybody to know that I have conversed with this Coyote Devereaux before, and much as I cannot speak about the sins that that Latia has put against him, she mentioned that he may not be a member of our faith, and I can speak that I've had conversations about the pattern with him, and I know he is learned in our ways. Perhaps he has strayed from the weave ever so. Perhaps his weave has frayed and become entangled. but he is part of it. And I just wanted to say that on his behalf. And I think we'd have a moment here where Coyote needs to start doing something. He's not going to be completely passive during this. I think what's going to happen is Latia is going to say, "Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the charges?" And one of the Weavers is about to, but then Coyote is going to try and interrupt and be like, "Do I get an opportunity to say something? I mean, that's fair, right? This is everybody who's in the building, because they probably explained a little bit of the rules. So everybody who's here right now gets to speak on my behalf, right? Seems I'm here, so I get to speak, right? Yeah. Those are the rules. So let's see. He's trying to compel right now to get an opportunity to speak, because he does not have that right away. And I think the compel that he's doing. Let's see what does it make sense that he's using here. It seems like he's bartering or convincing. This would be a heart move. He's using logic with them, and like, these are your words. He's definitely not threatening or inciting, or lying or swindling. Sound the horn. Welcome to our stream. We're kind of getting towards the kind of climax of this session. So yeah, he's like, do I get an opportunity to speak? I'm in the building as well. And let's roll his heart. He definitely does not share a bond with anybody here, so he does not get a +1. But we'll see what happens. There we go. Another strong hit. No need to use momentum. So his compel works. They'll do what you want or share what they know. Take +1 momentum, which is great. We're finally starting to get this momentum up to a value that is truly respectable, and like, we can actually do some stuff with it. A 7 momentum, it's pretty good. Or +7 momentum, rather. We can do some stuff with that. Take +1 momentum, and they'll do what we want. So they're going to escort him over. We could use this to gather information, but we're not. Coyote basically wants to use a compel to allow him to compel the rest of the room. Now, I haven't actually, as a player, I haven't thought through what he's going to try and say. I know that this would be a good opportunity for him to be able to speak to the room. I don't know what he's going to try and say, but Coyote's very savvy. He's a wily, silver-tongued person. He's got a plan. Let's see, what could he do? How could he maybe get them to... Oh, you know what? We talked about him embracing the darkness, and he has the vow that he's going to burn down this church. Coyote's going to do the opposite. Coyote has embraced the darkness and accepted that he's a bad person. He's going to add to the charges. He wants them to have as much fire as possible, even though it scares him. As much fire as possible so that he can turn the tables and more easily burn down the church. Because if it's just a small fire, that's going to be hard to do. If he already has quite the blaze, that's going to be easier to make it spread. So yeah, he's going to be real tricky with this and get them to add to the pile. So, this is going to be another heart move. He's going to be convincing them basically that he's a... This is a weird use of compel, but he's going to convince them that he's a bad person, and he's just going to be like, y'all only... I'm going to save you a lot of trouble here. We could spend all day... He's basically giving a confession, but they just don't have a system for that. And I feel like, nobody's ever confessed in their system before, so like, oh shit, I didn't even think about somebody doing that. That's weird. We might have to think about how that works from now on. It's like, it's gonna save you a lot of trouble. You could stay up here, keep having people one by one come up and talk about all the shitty things I've done. Oh, am I supposed to say a word like that around here? Maybe you should add that to the pile. All the fucked up things I've done. Because there's a lot of them. Why don't we condense it all into one person? Save you a lot of everybody slowly getting up and down and all that. Yeah, I stole your book. I lied about being part of your religion. Roxy, I lied to you. I've never even had a moment of consideration of being part of your religion. It sounds, particularly with all this bullshit going on, sounds like a complete waste of everybody's time. And there's lots of gasps around here at this point. And Pete, like, really, how well this move goes is how well he can allow get them to allow him to keep talking, or Right now, they're going to try and silence him. If he how does he balance saying the right things without getting too blasphemous so they just shut him up? And how well can he read the room to know when to lean against that? Still the book and pretend to be part of your religion. Genie is rolling around back there and knocking into my cello. I don't know if it's picking up on the mic, though. Just every once in a while you can hear it making some noise. Yeah, I've never had any interest in joining this complete wackiness that is the Church of Signism. I don't believe that any of you have ever seen any kind of meaningful pattern. I think you see what you want to see, and then you shape the world to that, and you claim that it's some kind of divine right, but it's truly not. You just you do what you want, and then you justify it with the way that you want the world to look. And I think it's a lot of bullshit. And honestly, if I had the opportunity right now, even though if I had had the opportunity, I would have beat your weavers to or if that's what you call them, to a bloody pulp, because they had a thing I want. I want that book more than I care about any of you. If they had died in the process, so be it. Because he's trying to angle for them doing the maximum of just like, he wants them to make a fire as if he was a murderer by saying I would have murdered you. Now that's probably a little bit of a lie. I don't think he would have actually murdered. Mechanically, it's going to be the same, whether he is rolling his heart or he is lying with a +1. I think he's mostly just compelling. I don't think there's enough of a lie there for it to really be Shadow. Anyway, let's see how this goes. I'm going to roll the heart move. I think the lie isn't enough core to what he's talking about. Most of what he's saying is true. So, can he convince them to give him the maximum amount of pyre to burn him on? Build as big as it comes. Because that'll also buy him more time. It's going to take time to set that up. Which gives him more of an opportunity to turn it to his advantage. Yes! Oh, finally! When it really matters, the stuff that I really, really want to go in the way I want, that's when I start rolling well, which is great because we've got the momentum. So again, a strong hit on the compel. Of course this would be the thing Coyote can do well. Convince people that, that he's a bad person. I do well when the victory condition is make people build the fire to burn me to death on higher. So it totally works. Take another +1 momentum. And I think that this is probably one of those ages where people are wearing constrictive enough clothing. There probably are people that faint during this. There's the people who had the audible gasp and just and yeah, there's a big commotion that happens in this church because he has said some horrible blasphemies. And yeah, it goes poorly. I think he's eventually silenced. Somebody claps a hand over his mouth. When Latya kind of pushes him out of the way, he goes, I think we've heard enough of this foul mouth. And the old weaver claps the hand over it. It is clear to me that this warrants such a creature who would so brazenly in these halls talk about a desire to murder clearly deserves the maximum punishment. He does not even seem to be bothered by, or given the fact that the compel went completely perfectly, I don't think they have any indication that this is something Coyote wants. I think that should be part of the victory condition, is that they don't even have the slightest notion that they feel this way because he played them to feel this way. So no, she doesn't say that, but she just says, like it's her idea, that clearly only the maximum penalty is warranted for such a situation. And she calls on, the stout men of the congregation to help with they gotta drag a bunch of heavy logs. They need to make an enormous pyre. Like, I see this sort of thing as being, where they've erected, like, a rectangle, or that's, 10 foot long and, 5 foot wide and goes up, 4 or 5 feet. This is an enormous pyre that they're going to have to set ablaze. This takes preparations. when you're talking about maximum penalty here. Because, you know what, I think with it going the way it did, Coyote even gets the opportunity to say something along the lines of, and if I have to kill every single person here to get it, I will. Something like that. Or no, I don't think he needs to do that. And again, I don't want there to be any indication of his plans. Honestly, I think this is another milestone, though, because he's now making it all the more likely to be able to burn down this church because there's going to be an enormous fire right in front of it. So let's have him hit another milestone here. He is manipulating this situation to be able to burn down the church. Those aren't filled in very well, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, 6 out of 10 boxes filled. Clearly, all right, we've got about 10 minutes left in this session, which is perfect. Somehow we always manage to end on like a very interesting scene. Makes me feel happy that I've been able to kind of always angle things that way. So we have, time passes. All the people have gathered this enormous pyre. Now, I want Coyote to have had the opportunity to make some preparations, because he's had time here. I want him to... He's certainly had time to... no, indeed, thank you. I will, if it happens, I think, indeed, he'll have to earn the... you mean Tormented? He'll have earned the Tormented. Just as a thing that makes sense. I want him to secure an advantage here. Yeah, no problem. Maybe he's had an opportunity here to steal some manner of like very incendiary lit, like we talked about the alcohol before. Although we talked about how Don is an alcoholic who has hidden a lot of whiskey around this place, and moonshine and things like that might be like he's probably brewed his own stuff. Let's say he has some spirits here that are especially incendiary, and Coyote might be able to pilfer some of them to be able to spread this fire to places it was not intended to go more quickly. So, what we're going to do here is Coyote, he already has the keys, so I don't think he needs to, we don't need to roll to have him get out of the cuffs. This is all going to be encompassed in secure an advantage. He's going to secure an advantage with deception, stealth, or trickery. He's using his trickster. He is stealing. And he's stealing and doing all sorts of stuff. So this is all wrapped up his ability to have an opportunity to escape the cuffs and steal some some highly flammable liquid to have on his person ready to spread the fire. Like, have material such that he could make this fire get out of control more easily. So let's see. We're going to roll a shadow with a +1 as a secure an advantage move. Not +4. I'd love a +4, but not what we want. I don't want to burn this momentum on this roll. We have it. I really want it for, I don't know, the situation where he's on the goddamn pyre. Let's see. But we do have a miss here, and how close was it? Oof. So I had to bring that up. We could indeed turn this into, like, I could burn the momentum, and this would turn into a strong hit. We have a high enough momentum now, that's possible. A miss means you fail or your assumptions betray you, pay the price. I really don't want that to happen. I want Coyote to be ready. And a strong hit would be great. I'd be able to take +2 momentum and have the... Yeah, you know what? Much as I said I don't want to burn the momentum on it, I'm going to go back on it. I think it's necessary enough. So as you see, my reset is +1. Again, a reminder of how momentum works. +8 is higher than 7. It is higher than 6. So when I burn this momentum, I get it all the way back down to this reset value. And then I cancel out any dice that are lower than the value. So I cancel out the 7, I cancel out the 6. Hey, now I have a strong hit. Strong hit means I get what I want, so I'm indeed gonna... He has an opportunity. He steals the materials. He's got a good amount of this just really flammable liquid. That's at least maybe it's not as much that it's really flammable so much as it's enough of it that he could indeed set a trail to bring the fire where it's not supposed to go. And I could do one other thing. So I could either make another move right now and add +1, or prepare to act, take +2 momentum. My momentum is so low at this point, I don't think it's going to be the thing that's going to save me for the end of this session. So I'm not going to bother with the momentum track. I can basically write it out as a possibility. What I want to do, this is one supply that he's got. I'd like one more. I want him to secure an advantage by setting up a situation where, like, maybe he indeed already has the alcohol, like, he already has the line of what it's leading to. Like, he can set up some kind of more explosive sort of thing that, like, when the fire reaches there, kaboom, inside the church. And if he can set this up successfully, I feel like that's definitely another milestone. So this is going to be... Again, it feels like a secure an advantage. Where I'm making preparations, trying to gain... Like, I'm not reacting to an imminent threat. I'm just trying to stealthily sneak around with, while they're prepping the pyre, stealth around this place and set it up to just rig this place to blow. It is... Like, I can see either one. Face danger is definitely up there as well, but there's an argument for secure an advantage, and that's less likely to go completely terrible, so I'm going to go for that. Yeah. So I think what might happen, we were talking about all these herbs and stuff that they have that they probably burn as well. I think he's probably going to set up stations of just really flammable stuff. Texts. We also he needs to get the book before this place burns. I think he'll have time to do those three things. I think he can try and get the book before it burns down. Otherwise, he's going to have to face the Inferno to get it, which could be really interesting. Oh my god. Make him face that fear. And he'll have the opportunity to try and set up this one more thing, and then after that, it's pyre time. So let's do this quickly. Secure an advantage, again, with deception, stealth, or trickery. He just needs to be really stealthy to have the opportunity to set this up. He is still stealing things to make this happen. I think it still qualifies for his trickster move. He's taking things and moving them around. I'm being lenient, but it's fine. Shadow with a +1 again. Can he set up a more flammable church? Is this place rigged to blow? Weak hit, it's something. So weak hit, your advantage is short-lived, take +1 momentum. But importantly, we also, we get the thing. So the advantage is secured. This church, I think the reason it's short-lived is like, somebody's going to notice. So we kind of need to make sure that it's right towards the end. And so because of that, of balancing the time of how, there's not a lot of opportunity to do anything else. And you don't have a lot of time to do it because you need to make sure that it's not set up and waiting for people to stumble into it. So we don't have a big window here, but he manages to do something. Maybe it's not as flammable as he would like, but it's something. This final one, I think, is just a face danger. I don't see... This isn't making preparations or gaining leverage. It's just stealing the book so that it's not in the Inferno when he gets it. So this is one more time going to be a stealth roll that involves stealing. So one more Shadow with a +1. Does he get the book and hide it in a... He knows he can't hide it on his person because it's too big, somebody will notice, but it's basically like, can he chuck it out a window or something so that it's in a place where he can get it safe from the fire without anybody noticing. So this is, remember, this is all encompassing a large amount of time that we're just kind of looking over, or glossing over because they're busy making a pyre. We're just montaging this. Strong hit, there we go. So Coyote will not have, potentially not have to run back inside this burning building. He does get the book without anybody noticing. Strong hit, we're successful and we take +1 momentum. We have faced that danger appropriately. The book is chucked out the window, and then that's probably the moment where it's like, okay, I need to get back to where I was being kept, because they're going to notice something. And so he gets back, and he remanacles himself, re-gets the keys in the right place. They probably had him back in that, scullery again, but Don was, I don't know, his opportunity probably came when like Don drank himself into a stupor or something like that. And that was probably the first alcohol that he stole. He saw how quickly that acted. He's like, wow, that's got to be some strong stuff. Yoink. And then, okay, let me set this up. I'll have all I got to do is, I think it's less about, okay, so he doesn't leave a trail of alcohol, because that doesn't make sense to me. I think what he's able to do is he soaks a rag that he has on his person. Oh, the bandage he has around his head. We've always described him as having this bandage around his head that he always wears to make himself look more injured than he is. Except right now he actually is really injured. He soaks that in a lot of alcohol so that it's ready to make into a torch. So that when the moment comes, he'll be able to get one of the logs that he's being burned on, wrap the torch around, it'll obviously be on fire, it's going to catch like immediately, and he has a situation where he'll be able to chuck it through a window where he has something waiting that's going to more immediately spread the fire. That's his plan. This is the way he has it set up. Now let's cap off this session by seeing how that goes. So the moment comes. Coyote is let out. Nobody sees what happens. He did the important rules without being seen. They don't know anything's planned. He's out on the pyre. They probably do a quick ceremonial, like, and yay, but for the, and yea, the lucky we are to witness in grand ceremony the true weaving of the pattern. It is not every day that we get to see it put forth in front of us in such verifiable ways that even a newcomer can recognize as its course. Because remember, they're usually about, you divine it through like visions and soothsaying and rolling bones and stuff like that. But this is something anybody can witness. Did he withstand the fire? And it is important that we remember that regardless of the direction of the pattern, the fire shall speak the truth. And should this lost soul withstand the flames, it shall be the end of his judgment. But no matter what cries he gives out or what repenting he gives up on that pyre, the fire must be allowed to do its full course, and we are not to interfere. And with that, she calls to one of the weavers, bring forth the flame. And I think it probably comes from some manner of, how like in Catholicism they have like the censer and I think it's something like that. He's not like swinging it back and forth, but I think it's indeed like they have some of their herbs inside some kind of a censer on a small chain, and it's burning the herbs. This is the thing that ceremonially like the fire is supposed to start from. I think they will then, take that and light something off of it. They don't like light it with the censer, but the weaver comes up with the censer to Latia, who will then receive like the official torch from one of the other weavers. Coyote's sitting up there, bound. He's got the keys ready in his hand. She takes the torch. There's a hush as she lights it off of the censer. It takes a moment because it's not a strong flame in there. And she holds up the flame before everybody and says, "Let this fire be the judgment." Not the judgment, because again, this isn't an idea where it's like they don't believe in like some god looking over them. It's just like it's more like the will of the universe. So it's like, let this fire light be the illumination of the pattern before us. Something like that. May it shine a light on what we are meant to see of the will of the way. And this is probably an opportunity where, she just turns around and she lights the pyre, and it spreads quickly. They have it set up. It's ready to spread more, like it's got enough tinder and kindling. It takes a moment to catch, but it starts going. You know what? I think part of the kindling. What do you guys think? Do you think they would indeed have their like psychedelic sort of herbs as part of that? And like here's my thought on this. Sure, that's ceremonial. This is a ceremony. Maybe this is the type of thing where like in order for people, this is one of the times where like anybody can see the will of the pattern. My thinking on it is, if they have hallucinogens in this fire that everybody is breathing in, people are more likely to see like not just a person burning to death, but truly like a righteous like justice being like, they'll have visions where they really see things, and it's going to make people into more believers. I feel like that would be kind of the leaning of this church. And so yeah, unless people think that that would be dumb and they wouldn't do that, and it's just regular, cedar and stuff like that. I think I like the idea that there are some, as kind of more of an environmental condition here, there's going to be some hallucinogens burning here, and everybody's going to be taking some strong whiffs, depending on how well you do. It's just something to consider for like how things go. So the fire starts spreading. The hallucinogenic smoke starts spreading through. Coyote needs to make an all-important face danger roll here. He needs to escape let the fire get big enough that he can very quickly light the torch off of it. Yeah, exactly. It's just one of the ways that if he has a miss, another way we can interpret it is him getting too high, and like the ramifications of that. He needs it to get high enough, the flames high enough, fighting his fear the entire time, so that he can very quickly wrap up the torch and light it before anybody notices, or before anybody can stop him, rather, and then chuck it into the church, and then escape, obviously. So let's see. He's doing a lot of things here, and I do want to wrap it all up in... Actually, I don't know if I want to do this all in one roll. Maybe we can break this down a little bit. No, it doesn't make sense. I think this is all one roll. I think there's a lot of ways this can go, and particularly with the time we're going over time. Let's just do this one important face danger roll. He's doing something very risky. I think this is mostly... This is trickery. This is all about escaping from cuffs and having, like, this situation where nobody notices, like, he's turning these tables. This is a shadow thing. He is bluffing, in that he is bluffing that he doesn't have an immediate way to get out of the situation because he has the keys. So I think his trickster +1 applies, because he is used to being able to keep that poker face and not let people know that, like, he's in the process of escaping from these cuffs. He can hide that. Because I don't think there's anybody behind him. I think they're all, they look upon his face as he sees, as he is subject to this justice. So yeah, shadow with a +1. This is going to be our final roll of the game, probably. And then we'll let this dictate how next time begins. Oh, shit! Oh, shit. So a failure, and I talked about this earlier in the game, doubles are a critical failure, and the higher the dice, the worse the failure is. We just got our highest, the biggest critical fail possible, double 10s. It cannot possibly get worse than this. That sounds a lot like somebody indeed catching on fire and, like, burning to death in front of everybody. Right? Sound like... I don't want this to be the end of everything, but we need to accurately reflect just how badly this went. Clearly, he is not going to be able to set the church on fire with this. Like, that's right out with that kind of a complication. The worst possible complication. I think he definitely catches on fire at bare minimum. Bare minimum. I think with a complication that bad, I want to go straight to... he's definitely burning to death. I'm going to skip entirely the endure harm table and make him make a face death roll. Because he is being brought to the brink of death by this. The fire is way too much for him. I think he panics when it, like, having to get the fire too close, because what happens is he like pulls the band off his head and it like catches fire immediately, and now he's holding fire in his hands and he freaks out and he like drops it, and it gets stuck on him, and people see what's happening, and then he waves his, and he panics and starts catching more of his clothes and body on fire, and he winds up getting more towards, like, the fire hasn't gotten all the way to his pole yet, but he catches himself. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to make a note to myself. We're going to see what happens with his face death roll as the very first roll of next time's session. We're going to cap off with him on fire, possibly burning to death. We'll see what happens next time. We do this every Saturday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Pacific time. If you're not caught up on the story and you want to know how did we get to this point, how did we get to a point where there was a church trial where somebody is set ablaze and tried to burn the church down, all that, all these episodes are on YouTube. Oh, The Owl, we're actually just wrapping up. Thank you for joining. Serpius, welcome back. The Owl, welcome back. Zam's got all sorts of people that are back. I appreciate it, but we are just wrapping things up. Thank you for the raid. Yeah, if you want to catch up on how we got to this point, all of the former sessions of Ironsworn are available on my YouTube channel. There's a link down below. This session will be up later tonight. I got to get prepared for it. Everyone else is ending too. Yeah, it's just one of those times. So it'll be up later tonight. If you really like the system, you want to look into it more, I will mention one final time. This is a really cool RPG that is designed such that you can play entirely alone this whole session. I don't prepare a goddamn thing. I have some ideas about how we'll get started, and then from there, I don't know what's going to happen. No preparation, no GM. There's enough tables to just make a very interesting story happen. At this point, I have faith that it'll just always take interesting turns. It does every single time. Available for free at ironswornrpg.com. Real hey guys, thanks for the follow. Wow, that thing is enormous on this screen. I did not realize it would come up that. I need to adjust that. But thank you for the follow. IronswornRPG.com has the free, or pay what you want, PDF. It has the full game as well as all sorts of play aids. Really cool game. Highly recommend you check it out. I will be back to do a completely different type of stream tomorrow. 5 to 9 p.m. Pacific time, I do a cello request stream. As many of you who just joined in are aware. This cello request stream is going to be a special one tomorrow because tomorrow night, I'm not broadcasting from this room. I'm going to be broadcasting from space. We had a challenge, which was that I had to, on stream, go up into the orbit of our sphere and capture the Tesla that is orbiting our planet. I need to go out into space and capture this. We're going to be doing that on stream tomorrow night. It is a broadcasting from space stream. I've got everything set up for our launch, so I hope to see you guys there. Yeah, 5 to 9 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. And yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed. We do this stream every Saturday night, and yeah. Anyway, I gotta do some last preparations for our launch tomorrow, and get a good night's sleep and all of that. So I'm gonna sign off and get ready, get this video online. But thank you for joining me. Hope to see you again in the future, and hope you enjoyed as well. Anyway, have a good night, everybody, and something.